Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we encourage each other in our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name's Ellen Anthony. I'm a member of the worship committee, and I'm standing in for Betsy, who is stuck in Pan Mass traffic. So let's, some prayers for all the Pan Mass riders. And this morning, we welcome to our pulpit Lucinda Garthwaite. Lucinda is the founder and director of the Institute for Liberatory Innovation, a longtime Universalist, a longtime Unitarian Universalist, and a member of the Provincetown Meetinghouse. She's the author of the book, Bumbling Humans: Reflections on Liberatory Change. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to hearing your message. Before we go on with our service, I have a few announcements to share. First, we want to hold in prayer today our music director, Mary Apt. Her sister passed away this week. Mary, our hearts are with you. And thank you, Brenda, for filling in today very ably. Tonight's great music on Sundays at 5 concert will be Broadway Around the World, songs from musicals with an international flair. We hope you can come back for that. Later this month, on Wednesday, August 21, we'll be hosting a concert by Tom Wilson Weinberg downstairs in AB Hall. Tom has had shows at the Gifford House, the Post Office Cafe, and Provincetown Theater, and this time he's going to perform for us, and all the proceeds will go to the Meetinghouse. We hope you can make it, and please bring friends. That'll be 5 o'clock on August 21. On August 1st, 2012, this congregation invited Reverend Kate Wilkinson to join us at the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown as our minister. Her leadership here is now 1 year longer than any other minister serving this congregation. We would like to help celebrate her 12th year and thank Rev Kate for her dedication and care over all these years. In appreciation, we're suggesting that you bring a card of congratulations or thanks and perhaps a memory to next Sunday's service. And finally, if you're here in person today, we hope you'll stick around and join us for coffee downstairs and conversation. Now let's take a moment to affirm our community's covenant. You can find this on the little purple laminated cards in your pews, or just repeat it line by line as I say it. Love is the spirit of this Meetinghouse. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace. To seek the truth in love. And to help one another. And now, as we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you watching online to light a candle wherever you are. In this way, we can feel connected even when we are apart, and I invite Bob to light our chalice for us as I read these words by Wendell Berry. Love that hates has canceled itself. It cannot survive its hatred of hate any more than one can survive minus one. It is no more. Chaos and old night will come again. As a force and way of being, love is never satisfied with partiality. It is compelled by its own nature and logic to be always trying to make itself whole. This is why the Sermon on the Mount tells us to love our enemies. That is an unconditional statement. It does not tell us to fight our enemies in order to improve them or convert them one by one. And now I invite you to join me in singing our opening hymn 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. Hymn number 95 in your gray hymnals, There Is More Love Somewhere.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for being here, especially the worship committee and Reverend Kate and Betsy, who was such a gracious host, and Ellen, who's been gracious today, and Kenneth for his patience, because I was a late getter-inner. Did you get that? All right. Thank you all. I'm so grateful to be here. I invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer. During this time, or at any time during the service, you're welcome to light a candle at the table to the right of the pulpit, where there is also a journal to record your thoughts and prayers. After our prayer, we will sing together Spirit of Life, hymn 123, which is also printed on the purple laminated card in your pew. We'll sing first in English and then in Spanish. This morning's prayer is Make Me an Instrument of Peace, echoing St. Francis of Assisi. I pray to be an instrument of peace. Where there is hatred, may I sow love. Where there is despair, may I bring hope. Where there is sadness, may I offer comfort. Where there is fear, may I be kind. When I am harmed, may I show grace. May I not wish harmers and haters to suffer. May I respond to their fear with compassion. May I be as loving as I am fierce, as nonviolent as I am insistent. May I resist self-righteous rage. May my anger instead yield precision for peace. May I resist dismissing, degrading. May I resist desiring harm. For all of that begets fear, and fear begets violence, and that ever has and ever will lead to more. May I be an instrument of peace, even when my own fears would deny it. May I be an instrument of peace. May I be an instrument of peace. May I be an instrument of peace. Amen.
The reading this morning is by Brian Stevenson from Just Mercy, a story of justice and redemption. We are all broken by something. We have all hurt someone and have been hurt. We all share the condition of brokenness, even if our brokenness is not equivalent. I guess I'd always known, but never fully considered, that being broken is what makes us human. We all have our reasons. Sometimes we're fractured by the choices we make. Sometimes we're shattered by things that we would never have chosen. But our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity, the basis of our shared search for comfort, meaning, and healing. Our shared vulnerability and imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion. We have a choice. We can embrace our humanness, which means embracing our broken natures and the compassion that remains our best hope for healing. Or we can deny our brokenness, forswear compassion, and as a result, deny our humanity. Now is the time in our service when we take a collection for the ongoing support of this Meetinghouse and our shared ministry. As we enjoy a musical reflection by our choir, we welcome your donations here in the sanctuary or online through Venmo or PayPal. You can find information on our website, uumh.org, and there are QR code cards in the pews as well. I invite 3 volunteer ushers to come take the collection. On and off site, we welcome your offerings.
Thank you. A year or so ago, one of my nephews, and I want to say, I have his permission, in fact, he's encouraged me to tell this story, posted a comment on social media describing a national leader I happen to admire in, I think it's fair to say, pretty hateful terms. This nephew and I differ often in politics, about politics and change, and we talk about them times, and we love each other a lot. And I'm his aunt, and he knows how I feel about hateful talk. But I know social media is not a great place to show up in that role, so I've entered a gentle in the comment section. He sent a private message back. "I know you like this guy," he wrote, "but I can't stand him. He's all about equity, but not equality. He's wrecking the country. He's ruining everything I care about." Oh boy, was I tempted. I was tempted to school him, to spell out the difference between equality and equity, to lecture on history, structural violence, generational trauma, cycles of harm, but I didn't do that. I didn't write back cynically, "Really? Everything you care about? Drama much?" Instead, I wrote, "I'm really sorry you're afraid. I am too. But I want to know, for real, what are you afraid of losing?" I told this story to my old friend Jeff a few weeks ago. Jeff is one of the kindest, most generous-spirited people I know. He looked pained when he said to me, "I don't think I could have done that, Lucinda. I don't understand that way of thinking. I mean, how can they not see?" I took a breath and said, "Jeff, it's just fear. It's the monster under the bed." Have any of you ever put a young child to sleep? Or witnessed the challenge of helping a young child get to sleep? Me too. Sometimes the child can't get to sleep because they believe to the tips of their toes there's a monster under their bed. Sometimes the monster has no form. Sometimes it's something distinct, a dragon, a giant, a bear. One friend of mine told me that her childhood monster was a tiger, a huge, crouching, murderous tiger. When a child calls out there's a tiger under their bed, I could ignore them, but I suspect they'll still be afraid the following night. They'll cry out again. I could stand in the doorway, the hall light behind me, and tell them they're just being silly. Think about it, I could say, "How could a tiger get under your bed? There's no tiger, now stop it, it's bedtime, go to sleep." But they probably won't. In fact, they might start thinking about how the tiger did, in fact, make it inside and start to worry that the window is open and that other tigers may be out there and it's just going to get worse. Ignoring or dismissing the tiger won't help the tiger disappear or help that child relax enough to get their much-needed sleep. So, usually, we go to the child, we sit on their bed, we go to the child, we sit on their bed, we tell them we're sorry that they're afraid, we listen to their fears, we reassure them, we take their feelings seriously, right? We offer to look under the bed, invite them to look with us. Maybe we leave the light on when we leave the room. I don't have to agree there's a tiger under their bed. I only need to let them know I understand they are afraid and that that matters to me. I can find out how it is for them. I can reassure them that I care. Maybe they'll start to relax enough to peek under the bed, maybe not. But if I hang in there with them, usually they get to sleep. My friend Jeff has children and grandchildren. He knows about tigers under the bed, and he nodded. "So why," I asked Jeff, "do we think it'll work with adults to tell them their tiger is stupid?" "They're just afraid," I said. And fear can't simply be told to go away. Fear can be manipulated, though. It can be encouraged and easily sown. There's fertile soil for fear in the heart of anyone who sees that the things that define who they are, that sustain them and those they love, might come under fire. That's existential fear. That's a fear that says, I may not survive this threat, or the people who matter most to me may not survive it. The world itself may not survive it. That's fear that's determined to protect itself. That's fear that can breed some murderous tigers. That's some dangerous fear. The thing is, though, often, I and my way of seeing the world is the tiger under their bed, just as theirs is the tiger under mine. So whose tiger gets to survive? I've had to wrestle with this, especially in terms of my faith. My Unitarian Universalist faith, informed by the faith I grew up with, I'd call it now a progressive Christian faith. My faith calls me to strive for peace and liberation. It invites me to consider the inherent dignity and worth of every person, to respond with compassion in all my relations. How do I reconcile the calls of my faith with the urgency I feel to act? Do what I can to stop violence, repression, injustice, and yes, inequity. It bears repeating. Fear unattended can morph into violence, which always begets more violence. A threatened tiger only fights harder. So responding to fear with compassion and curiosity isn't just about kindness. It works. When I do it with intention, it's activism. But even as I wrote those words, I said to myself, well, yeah, it's not that simple. Here's another story. This spring, I was invited to speak to an organization in New York City with a mission for social change. The people in this organization work hard to create equity among them, with plenty of room for their differences. And it's New York City. There's lots of differences there. They strive faithfully to reduce harm, to be accountable when it comes, and they'd invited me to come and speak about that. But in the weeks before I was to travel to New York, they let me know their community had come under terrible strain as they found themselves in profoundly different places about the violence in Palestine. Close colleagues were not speaking, or speaking in sharp and angry tones. Some had literally, physically turned their backs when the other was speaking. Punitive consequences were in the air. Accusations of injustice flew. Rage flared. That community saw at least two tigers. Each beheld and firmly believed in the threat, the reality of genocide of the people to whom they related. Many were deeply hurt by what they experienced as their colleagues' betrayal of basic tenets of equity, peace, and justice. The usual interventions had already been tried. Conflict resolution, difficult conversation, mediation, education, leaders suggested history lessons that had not gone over well. There was simply no common ground to be found. In this organization, earnestly, collectively committed to liberation. Angrily, they said to each other, no, your side is the tiger, not mine. Writer and activist Adrienne Marie Brown reflects this dynamic when she writes, what we do now is identify beliefs or behaviors with which we disagree or that we believe to be harmful, and then we tear each other apart. I have noticed, Brown goes on to say, that at the most basic level, I feel better about myself because I'm on the right side of history, or at least the news cycle. Then she asks, but is that what we're here for? To cultivate adherence to reductive common values? What can this lead to in an imperfect world full of sloppy, complex humans? I really relate to that part. Brown goes on, there are not enough monstrous people in the world to justify the ease with which we name each other so. The answer, she suggests, is to, in her words, rehumanize each other. Our job, our mission at the organization I lead, is to find new ways to drive liberation where old ways aren't working, or aren't driving change fast enough. So before I met with that shattered community in New York, we looked to wise colleagues and thinkers like Brown and came up with another idea. I started my talk, there were about 80 people in the room, with compassion, the way the Dalai Lama describes it, not suffering with, but simply not wanting others to suffer, seeking not to cause suffering. I let them know that I saw their suffering. I affirmed that they were afraid and angry. I put up a slide of a big angry tiger. I talked about existential fear. I knew most of them didn't believe they had a tiger at all and wished to be rid of the tiger they saw. I asked them rhetorically, is that possible? If you're all seeing tigers, which ones will you choose to destroy and to what end? I suggested that it seemed to me they had 3 options. They could continue to work to prove each other wrong. I asked if anyone in the room was ready to give up their convictions. Mostly they shook their heads. So I said, where is that going to get you then? All right, I said, here's another option. They could just disengage from each other, turn away from each other and focus instead on advocating for the position they held. They could do that peacefully, both at work and outside in the streets. That wouldn't be bad on its face, but I wondered aloud, would it go any distance to making it possible to work together again on the social justice mission to which they are all in service? They all shook their heads. Probably not. I suggested a third way, an activist way that didn't require agreement. I asked my friends in New York that day, what's your bottom line? If it's to be right, then by all means, keep arguing. If it's for one side or the other to prevail, no matter the cost, then sure, keep fighting. If it's the possibility that more and more people can thrive as who they are and who they are becoming, then there is another way. Arguing with a cornered tiger only makes it more dangerous, I said. You'll be less safe, and so will your people. But it's also untenable in the context of deep conviction, in the context of deep convictions to sit down, to just stand down and agree. If what drives another's fear threatens your existence or the existence of the people you care about, there is no common ground. Stop trying to find it, I suggested. Stop trying to get each other to agree with you. Stop going after their tiger. But the tiger is real, they all said, glaring at each other across sides of the room. The tiger is there because they're afraid. The tiger is there to protect them. They are afraid for their very survival, or the survival of all that matters to them. So I suggested, what if you affirm the existence of the other's fear? You don't have to agree with what's behind it. What if you just say, I see that you are afraid? What if you affirm that experience of the world, their experience of the world or the situation as they do, without letting go of your own? You don't have to agree. Just get very curious. Just seek to understand. Then what? Some said. I don't know for sure, I answered. But what are your other options? Isn't it time to try another way? I'll be honest. These days, I find myself often drowning in fear. I won't list the reasons why. I'm sure you have your own lists. There really are tigers everywhere. I could just wish them to disappear, I suppose. But when I publicly wish that would happen, I only exacerbate fear. And anyway, that's what wars and repression are for. to get rid of tigers under the beds, to get rid of whole peoples and countries, religions and cultures, ideas and ideologies. Just make them go away. So far in history, that hasn't gone far in the service of the change I seek. I want to be clear. The compassion and curiosity I'm talking about are not about being nice. I feel really fierce about this. I don't have time for one more person to die because of injustice. We gotta hurry up. Responding to fear with compassion and curiosity is, for me, as much about activist strategy as it is about my faith. I am interested in doing what works. Rigid insistence on ideologies, punitive rhetoric, policies, name-calling, and denigration of others and the people they admire has not worked. In fact, I believe that's part of what got us to where we are. Because we've been asking the wrong question. When I ask, which tiger's going to survive, mine or yours, I only exacerbate fear. When I demonstrate that I don't want them to suffer, when I ask earnestly, will you tell me about your fear? I lay down a stone in the path of peace. Sometimes that's all I can do. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Lucinda. It has become our practice to pose a question based on the theme of the service each week. It can be a topic of sharing at coffee hour downstairs or with friends during the week. If you'd like to delve deeper into the question, we invite you to join us on Zoom Coffee Hour Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Please contact the office if you need that link. Our question this week is, what tigers do you wish would disappear? What would it be like to meet those tigers with curiosity and compassion? Again, what tigers would you like to disappear? And what would it be like to meet them with curiosity and compassion?
I'll end with these closing words from John Lewis's last letter, which was published the week after his passing, just as he had asked. At the end of that letter, Senator Lewis wrote, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence, is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn, he wrote, to let freedom ring. Go in peace.